Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corey. If you're new, I'm Corey. Welcome to my channel. If you're returning, thank you as always for being here. I appreciate you more than you know. Today is the last minis challenge, so there will be a whole playlist. More information on that in a little bit, but let's go ahead and get right on into the crafting.
DIY number one. For this project, I thought I was going to use this faux snow from Crafter Square, which is Dollar Tree, but it was really glittery, which I could have gotten around, but it was a little thinner than I had in mind, so I will definitely be saving this for something else. I did just try to wrap it around some of my styrofoam balls that I had here to see if it would work, but ultimately I ended up just grabbing some fiber fill, whatever you call that you stuff like animals and pillows and things with, like stuffed animals. Oh goodness, I'm really off to a great start here. But I used some of the polyfill to wrap around each of my styrofoam balls. I have them in 3 different sizes, just using a little bit of hot glue on here. Just be careful. I kind of got myself a little bit there, but be careful if you end up doing this. Wrapped each of my styrofoam balls. Then I went ahead and stacked my balls. If you haven't figured it out yet, I am making a snowman here. He turned out so super cute. I actually love him. 2 pieces, but went ahead and used some more hot glue. I made sure that the polyfill was kind of thin in the areas where I was gluing it together, but it wasn't quite thin enough because when I went ahead and put on this little top hat, which was also from the Dollar Tree, I've had it in my stash for a while, so hopefully they still have them, but the little layers, the balls, were not standing erect. They were kind of getting floppy. So I used a skewer. As you can see, I went up through the bottom into the middle, and then I used another piece of that skewer to go down into the middle one and drop the top ball on top of that, just to give it some additional support. I wasn't able to get the skewer to go all the way through all 3 balls, so that was why I went from the bottom and then also from the middle. So now I have some of this wonderful, I think it's I forget what it's called, but it's like a chunky yarn, but not super frilly. I don't know how else to describe it, but making a little scarf for this guy. Super cute.
I would like to take a quick break to tell you about today's sponsor. Temu is an online shopping platform that offers up to 90% off of all of its products site-wide. They also have the ability for you to purchase items with a 90-day return policy, so you can be sure that you're super satisfied with everything that you've received. I have been using some of their products in recent videos. I also picked up a couple of things for Christmas gifts, like these night vision binoculars for Rich, and super excited to get his reaction on that. But I have been really impressed with the quality of their crafting supplies, and I'm going to continue to use them in my projects going forward. But some of the items that I've been working with in some of my crafting recently, you may have noticed, they have some really fantastic little items for crafting. They have a bunch of different types of items like this, as well as different types of picks and greenery. I've been really pleasantly surprised by the quality of the product. This is another one that I've absolutely loved. I included this on a lantern that I did recently. Really, really fantastic. They even have little miniature Christmas lights. How adorable is that? I absolutely love it. I can't wait to use these. Maybe I'll do it in today's video. I haven't figured that out yet. But also Christmas gifts. So, oh, and these are actually LED lights that I picked up as well. But I'm excited about the night vision goggles that I picked up for Rich. But these are LED Empress string lights, and look at how amazing those look. So really excited to give those a shot. But they have a Temu app There's a lot of information in my description box for you to check out. So you can download the app. I have a special code for you to use as well. So you can get some extra perks and bonuses. More details will be in my description box, so I hope that you'll go and check that out. But let me give you a quick glimpse of what you might find online.
So I've just gone to Temu.com, so you can access this through your regular desktop or laptop, but they also have that app that I mentioned, so you'll want to check that out. But they have pretty much anything you can think of. I'm just going to do a quick search on craft supplies because that's pretty much what I do in my spare time. And as you can see, they have so many different options. Anything you could possibly think of, and check out those prices. It's really unbelievable. So exciting.
All right, so I hope you'll check out the details on Temu in my description box. For now, let's go ahead and get right back into the crafting.
So now we have the scarf on our little guy, and now I am grabbing another skewer. This is something I've had in my stash for a while. I think it did come in a pack of like 12. These are the longer skewers that you can use for things like marshmallow or like on the grill, like shish kebabs, that kind of thing. So they're a little thicker. As you can see, I'm using my orange paint marker to give it a good coat of paint. I had used my sanding block to just kind of round off the tip a little bit and make it look a little bit more like a carrot, because we're going to be making his nose here. If you noticed, I did cut that at an angle. I'm going to cut it at an angle again. The reason being, I want to make sure that I have kind of a point here. I'm kind of sharpening it, for lack of a better term. I was just cutting it at an angle kind of all the way around to make it pointy, so that it just helps me to press it down into that styrofoam ball. And now I'm going to take the remnants of that remnant of skewer, because this was just a little piece I had left over from another project. These are usually, I want to say they're maybe 3 feet long, something like that, at least 2.5 feet long, I would say, in the packs. But I'm just kind of trimming this down. I'm making the one end pointy, but having the other end be very blunt, going to give it a good coat of my black chalk paint, or yeah, this is a chalk paint in the paint marker. I had a little bit of an issue with it. As you could see, my marker kind of exploded on me. I had been trying to get it to bring up some additional paint. I think I hadn't used them in a while, and so they were starting to dry out a little bit, and it was causing me an issue, but I finally managed. I made a little bit of a mess in the process. But what I have here, these are little push pins, also from the Dollar Tree. They are the Jot brand, and they had different colors. Obviously, I pulled out the gray ones and using them as the buttons for my snowman. I am going to come back in a little bit, you'll see, with some hot glue to help make those a little bit more secure. But in the meantime, I'm dropping in those skewers that I painted black to use as my snowman's eyes. I just figured that the push pins were a little bit too large for his eyes, so I've got these little pieces of the skewer, and that worked out very well as far as I was concerned. Just rearranging his hat, making sure that it's on there nice and solid, putting in some more hot glue, and now I'm ready to create a mouth. I just used this little trim. I think it's called a package trim, but it's a tiny little ribbon, red ribbon, that I'm going to use to create his mouth, and going to use a little bit of hot glue on either end of it. This is a little bit stiff, so I was kind of able to form it in that semicircle smiley face kind of shape. Before I set it down, I'm going to go ahead and apply that. But I felt like it was kind of floating out there on its own. So I need a little something to pin it down a little bit more. And I literally end up pinning it. You can see my little buttons are falling out, which is what prompted me to make sure that I was going to hot glue them. But in the meantime, once I get these all situated again, oh, yep, I guess I am going to go ahead and hot glue them down. So getting those pressed back in. So they are sticking into the styrofoam ball as well, but I'm not pressing them too far in because I didn't want to flatten out his fluff, so to say. So just being mindful of that. So once I had those all set, I was ready to pin down his little smile, and I literally used sewing pins. So I used one on either side of his little smile, and they're not super visible. They're just like the flat head pins, and I just tucked them right in there in between the ribbon strands, and that was that. So he is missing some arms. This is also from the Dollar Tree. I pulled it apart, true to my style, right? I'm going to just clip out a couple of these pieces that have the Y shapes to them and tuck those right in there. I went to do this one. I noticed that it was actually a little bit broken, so I went looking for a second one, or third one, I should say. And went ahead and tucked that in, and he is all set. I love him, but let me know what you think. DIY number 2. All right, I have a scrap piece of paper, and this is from a project I might have done more than one project with this in recent weeks, but I am going to be creating a cone. I had started to grab my Scotch tape and then decided I wanted to use the hot glue. It's just easier. Now, this cone does not need to be pretty. I am going to be kind of building it up with a couple of different pieces of scrap paper. It is going to be completely covered in the end, so it's okay if it isn't perfect looking on this part of the project. You're going to see I kind of misjudged where I was placing that, so I'm going to end up with a gap there, but it's quite all right. We'll just cover that up in a second and we'll make this work. But again, it's going to be completely covered in the end, so it's not super important that it be perfect looking. Now, if you have a full piece of paper that you want to use to create your cone shape, by all means. I am just using scraps because I try to save all of my bits and pieces of cardstock and vinyl and fabric and use them for other projects where I am able. It just makes me feel good to reduce, reuse, recycle, right? So that is the reason that I do it. But once I had the cone to the size I wanted, I just want to make sure that it was going to be relatively level. And now I am bringing out some yarn. I threaded another piece of yarn through there with a needle and looped my yarn in between the two strands to help pull it through the top, because my hole at the top was a little too narrow for me to force the yarn through by myself. So I used this kind of the same way you would a needle threader. So once I had that secure in there, it's just a couple of inches of yarn inside. I went ahead and drew a strip of hot glue, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap the entire cone. Now I'm just going to try and make sure I've got enough yarn here. Obviously, I've already covered up the hot glue that I had on there, but I want to make sure I've got a decent amount of yarn pulled out so that I'm not having to mess with it while I've got hot glue sitting on my cardstock. Hopefully that makes sense. Going to wrap that all the way around, all the way down to the bottom. And when I get to the bottom, I will make sure for those last few wraps around the bottom on the outside, I did use hot glue all the way around so that it doesn't fall down off of my cone. So that's really important. I am then going to go ahead and continue it on the inside of the cone for just a little bit. I went probably more than I needed to. I probably went in about 2 inches. But the reason I did that was in case I have this on a tiered tray and it happens to be a little higher than eye level, if you happen to see underneath of it, I didn't want that bright green color to be showing. So I went ahead and wrapped it up inside of there a little ways. Once I had that ready, I grabbed another scrap of that larger skewer, as well as a piece of birchwood. That is also from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a pack of about 20 of those little pieces. I found a drill bit that was the same width as my skewer, drilled a hole in the middle of the birchwood. I went in maybe halfway through, maybe a little more than halfway through the birchwood, and then I'm able to pop that skewer right down inside that hole. And it was a nice snug fit. I didn't even need any glue. And now I'm going to go ahead and add some glue into the cone here. You're going to see me flip it over here in a second. I'm a little off camera, but I'm dropping hot glue in there. Just please be careful. When I put in a significant amount of glue, and when I flipped it over like that onto the skewer, it ended up falling out onto my hand, and I burned myself pretty badly. So just please be careful. So now I have more of these little jot push pins from the Dollar Tree. These are obviously a pearl type look. I think that they are beautiful and super cute. I love them. Just pushed it right in through the yarn and into the cardstock. And now just a little star ornament. I pulled the hanger part of it off and glued it to the top. And this little guy is going to be completely done. This might be one of my favorite Christmas projects I've created so far this year. I love it. I think it's super cute, but let me know what you think of this one. DIY number 3. Okay, I have some Arteza acrylic paints and my Floetrol. This is the first time I'm using Floetrol. I have not done any paint pouring in a little while, and I've been inspired recently to try it again. But I'm going to be making these little signs on, these are wood squares that I'm going to be using. I ended up doing 3 of them because I had so much paint left over, but I'm using titanium white, silver, and then scarlet red is going to be the 3rd color. Now, I was having some brain power issues apparently when I was doing this because I only recorded 2 of them. I forgot to turn the camera on for the 3rd one, so forgive me that, but it's pretty much going to be the same process for that 3rd one that I used on the, well, it's kind of like a combination of the process that I used on the 1st and 2nd one. But I am layering my paints in my cup. When I mixed these with the Floetrol, I had done a 3-to-1 ratio, so 3 parts of the Floetrol, 1 part of the paint. Again, this is the first time that I'm using the Floetrol, so I was excited to see how it was going to work. I think it came out really well, but continuing to layer this in my cup, just the red, then the silver, then the white. And my thought in these colors, I had the Starlight Mints in mind, or candy canes, right? So the little round candy cane looking mints, that was kind of what I had in mind with these colors. I added the silver in just to kick it up so it wasn't just red and white. But just swirling that on, doing a close in. I went to go grab some gloves, but you can see how the paint is just kind of working its way out towards the edges while I was putting my gloves on, because here I'm going to get a little bit messy. I have this over my silicone mat so that I won't make a mess of my workspace. And as you can see, I had it on a little riser as well to keep it off of the surface. So just going to move it around until the paint is completely covering everything. I'll run my finger along the edges where there might be some gaps in the paint just to make sure that it's all finished off. And you can totally leave it like this. Once it's dry, you could leave it as a little art piece. I actually ended up using it as a background. I'm going to be adding something to it. And of course, I forgot to turn my camera on for that part too. So you'll see the end result, but all right, so now this is my little cake spinner. I figured I would try this as well. In hindsight, I should have put a layer of white paint on it first. I do have my cake decorator, spinner, whatever you want to call it, covered in plastic. This is the first time I was ever using it, and it was already covered in plastic, so I just left it wrapped up. But I am flooding this with some white paint around the it's not really mixed, but the layered paint that I had in that cup, and I'm just spinning it and spinning it and spinning it. And I was thinking it was supposed to move out to the edges faster than it was, but apparently this is the way that it's supposed to work. So wasn't totally thrilled with the design that I was getting. So I ended up taking one of my skewers and just pulling out some of the paint from some of the areas where it was naturally coming to a point in the design. And I pulled that out and just kind of made squiggles, trying to make it a little bit more interesting. But again, I'm going to be drawing a picture. I can't remember if I drew a picture on this one or if I did the fa la la. I'm trying to remember which one I used for which at this point. But I think this might have been the fa la 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 one. But again, you can leave it as art for your tier tray, or you can use it as a backdrop for some other part of your craft, whatever comes to mind and inspires you to create. So spun that out a little bit more, and that was it for that one. I think, I guess I let it kind of move a little bit more. And then I did, like I said, move on and create a third one that I did the first method with the paint as far as the application, and then I spun it out a little bit just to see if, it would do something a little bit more fun with the design, or I don't know. I'm testing and learning. But here you can see I've got the first two. I'm using my torch to pop the bubbles, and you'll be able to see it a little bit better on this one, where the little bubbles are popping and it's kind of creating little cells. I think it looks really cool. So I was excited about the way that these turned out. But I wish that I'd captured the third one. Here it is when I finally realized that I had forgotten. And here again, I'm cleaning up because I forgot to turn the camera on while I created my designs. But hopefully you get the idea. And now it's time for a shout out timeout. Adorable Kimberly, these are such, they make me so happy. Cute Valerie, these are really great as well. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I would love to give you a shout out as well. If you have interest, just send me an email at craftedbycorey@gmail.com. DIY number 4. All right. This is something I've had in my stash for a while. I think I might have received it from my subscriber Rose. And then the Season's Greetings little sign is a cutout that I gotten from the Dollar Tree. I think it was a set of it. Well, it was definitely a set of at least 2. There might have been more than that in the set. I honestly don't recall at this point. But I was cutting the arrow part off of it because I'm just after a little rectangular sign that I can work with here for a background to my Season's Greetings. So once I had that trimmed off, I'm going to go ahead and sand the edge, make sure everything is nice and clean. And I'm using my leftover paint from the last projects. This was a little bit more translucent because it had the Floetrol in it. So it was definitely not as opaque as the chalk paint that I normally work with. But again, I'm just trying not to waste anything. So giving this a couple of coats of the leftover acrylic paint with the Floetrol in it. Helped it dry a little bit. And then I am going to use the white that I had left over to paint my Season's Greetings sign. Once I had that painted, I'm just using a little skewer to poke out some of those little hole cutouts because they were kind of bubbled with paint. That is a little piece of floral foam that I had left over on my crafting table. And yeah, I probably did not need to do it this way. I was, again, trying to use some of the leftover paint, and I was thinking I might be able to get it to look kind of like a candy cane or striped or something. Yeah, it wasn't working the way that I had envisioned. But I went ahead and just made sure that the whole thing was coated, and I used up all of the leftover paint that I had to cover the base as well. I'm just going to use that floral foam as my little base. So then I let that sit to dry and added my white sign onto my red sign. As those are both dry now, just use a little bit of hot glue to secure that. And then let everything sit overnight because my base was going to take some time to dry. Used some additional hot glue to secure my little stick there. Going to throw on a whole bunch of additional hot glue and grab a piece of ribbon in a second here to help secure this to the back of the sign. So I just grabbed a regular red ribbon. This is one of my Kirkland ribbons that I talk about all the time from Costco. I have seen firsthand that BJ's also has a ribbon selection very similar, and so that is also an option if you have a BJ's instead of a Costco. And this is done. And here we are with the final reveal.
Okay, everybody, that's it for today. If you enjoyed the project, remember to give me a big thumbs up, leave me a message, let me know which one was your favorite, and remember there's a whole playlist, so be sure to check out those other crafters and give them some love. Until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thanks so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.